This video is about using order of operations with exponents. So we talked about order of operations in chapter 1, talked about PEMDAS and what those letters stand for. Parentheses is the P, parentheses or grouping symbols. Exponents are the E, and we didn't really use exponents when we talked about order of operations in chapter 1, but we're going to be including them today. And then the M is multiplication, the D is division, the A is addition, and the S is subtraction. And then we always have to remember multiplication and division, we go from left to right, so they're kind of on the same level. We do whatever comes first in the problem for multiplication and division. Same with addition and subtraction. If there are both addition and subtraction in a problem, we do whatever comes first. So let's just remember that when we're evaluating. So let's do some examples. It says we'll now be including E for exponents in our computations. So this says evaluate. In other words, just get an answer. So you don't need a calculator for these. So yeah, we just need our brains. So I've got 5 times the quantity 4 plus 2 squared plus 6. And I need to evaluate. So, all right, go through your list. PEMDAS, P, parentheses, or grouping symbols, comes first. And we see that we do indeed have some parentheses here. So I'm going to do the 4 plus 2 first. So I get 5 times, well, 4 plus 2 is 6. I haven't used anything else yet, so I just simply carried everything else down. All I changed was the 4 plus 2 and I made it a 6. So next I'm going to do, well, I don't have any more parentheses. There's just one number in there, so that's not really, there's nothing I have to do inside the parentheses. Exponents are what come after parentheses. So whatever number is raised to an exponent, that's what I'm going to do next. And in this case, I happen to have 6 squared, or 6 to the second power, which means 6 times 6. And 6 times 6 is 36. So 6 times 6 is 36, and I carry everything else down. Since the 5 was right next to this, that was multiplication, so that's why I put the little dot. Now I'm just left with multiplication and addition. And between those two, multiplication comes first. So I'm going to do 5 times 36 next. That gives me 180. Bring down the plus 6. 180 plus 6 gives me 186. And I'm done. Okay, so that one just had numbers. Now part B has some variables, so we're going to have to do some substitution. It says negative 2x cubed plus 7y. And then for x equals 2 and y equals negative 4. So I need to substitute 2 for x. So I'm going to have negative 2. Rather than x cubed, I'm going to have times 2 cubed. Notice when I substitute, I put it in parentheses. Plus 7y. So I know y is negative 4. So that means I'm doing 7 times negative 4. And now I can evaluate. So I don't have any parentheses. Well, I do, but it's just signifying multiplication. There's nothing I need to do inside of the parentheses. So next comes any exponents I have, which I do have a 2 to the 3rd power that I need to evaluate. 2 to the 3rd power, if you want to come over here and do some side work, means 2 times 2 times 2. And 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 again, like 4 times 2 is 8. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So that's what I'm going to write right there. And I'm going to bring everything else down. So the 2 to the 3rd just became an 8. Now I have some multiplication, some addition, and some more multiplication. So multiplication comes next. So I can actually do both of those multiplication steps at once. I'll do negative 2 times 8. That's negative 16. And then 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. And I'm going to bring down my addition sign since I haven't used that yet. And now I just have an addition problem. Negative 16 plus negative 28 is negative 44. And I have evaluated. Let's do some more. Part C, I have 3x squared minus y cubed for x equals 4 and y equals negative 2. So do your substitution. So 3x squared is now 3 times 4 squared. x is 4. Minus y cubed is now going to be minus negative 2 cubed. Notice I put the negative 2 in parentheses because I was substituting. Always get into the habit when you substitute for a variable, put whatever you're substituting in parentheses. Okay, so next I'm going to follow order of operations. I don't have anything I need to do inside of the parentheses, so next comes my exponents. So I'm going to do 4 to the second power next. 4 to the second power means 4 times 4, which is 16. So this is now going to become 4 times 16. Minus, so I have another exponent to do here. So this is negative 2 to the third power, which means negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Well, I know negative 2 times negative 2, that gives me a positive 4. Bring down the times negative 2. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So this is going to be a negative 8. I put it in parentheses because I had that subtraction sign to bring down from earlier that I haven't used yet, so I don't want to have two negatives right next to each other because it could get confusing. That's why I put the parentheses. Okay, next I have some multiplication here and subtraction, and that's it. So multiplication comes before subtraction, so I'm going to do 3 times 16. That gives me 48. And I'm going to change this minus negative 8 because I can use my keep change rule for subtraction. Minus negative 8 is the same as plus a positive 8. So I keep the 48 and then I change the operation, change the sign of the second number, and now I'm just doing 48 plus 8. 48 plus 8 is 56. So that's my answer. Okay, part D. Oh, I've got brackets and parentheses and exponents. So PEMDAS tells me to do parentheses first, and it's always the innermost parentheses. So in this case, that would be the 6 minus 8. So that's what I'm going to do first. 6 minus 8 gives me negative 2. And then I'm going to bring everything else down that I haven't used yet. Okay, I still have some grouping symbols here, and I have things to do in there, so I'm going to do that next. 9 plus negative 2 gives me 7. And I could bring down the brackets. I don't really need to because all I'm doing now is squaring it. Squaring the 7. So now I have exponents and division left. And between those two, exponents come first. The E comes before the D. So I'm going to do 7 squared. 7 squared means 7 times 7. And 7 times 7 is 49. And then I still have to divide by 7. Oops, I forgot my equal signs here. So 49 divided by 7 gives me 7. And I'm done. Okay, moving on. So we're going to evaluate these next ones using a calculator. So it says sometimes the calculator is useful for evaluating expressions with exponents. So evaluate using a calculator. So we're going to take out our handy dandy calculators here and clear out anything that's on there. So I'm going to hit Control, Menu, Clear History, and then that'll clear everything out. So sometimes, yeah, if we have larger exponents or sometimes if we're working with decimals, a calculator can be useful. So this specifically says to use a calculator, so I can. Now to type in 7 to the 6th power on these calculators, you type in the 7. Then to get the exponent, you hit this little, this is called a caret, the little upper arrow here. So I'm going to hit the caret, and that's going to allow me to type in the exponent. So 7 to the 6th power means 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. But I don't really want to multiply that all out, so I'm going to use the calculator. And I get a very large number, which is 117,649. Okay, part B, I'm going to evaluate using a calculator. Now, notice there are parentheses here. So when I type this in on the calculator, I need to include those parentheses. It's negative 5 to the 4th power. So negative 5. And then to get my exponent, again, I hit this little caret button to the 4th power. Enter. I get 625. If I would have forgotten to use the parentheses, that would have given me a negative 625. So just be careful. Make sure you include your parentheses. Next, I'm going to type in 12 to the third. 12 caret 3. Oops, I got a V in there somehow. 12 to the third power gives me 1,728. 1,728. Now, part E does not have parentheses. Notice it's similar to part B, but it just is the opposite of 5 to the 4th power. So when I type that in with no parentheses, I get negative 625. Because that was saying figure out 5 to the 4th and then take the opposite. Okay, and next I'm going to do 0.7 to the third. That gives me 0.343, 343 thousandths. Okay, so these I found using the calculator. And next I'm going to use the calculator to evaluate expressions. So part A, I've got 8 times the quantity m squared. So m, they tell me, is 1.2. So I'm going to substitute 1.2 for m. I get 1.2 squared. Plus 3n. That means 3 times n, which in my case is 6. Or in our case. Okay, so I substituted, and now I can use my calculator. So I'm going to type in this whole expression. Okay, so 8, I'll put the parentheses, 1.2 squared. Actually, there's a squared button right here. You can use the caret if you want, but this is the second power. They've got a button there for you. Plus 3 times 6, and I'm going to close my parentheses. And that gives me 155.52. The calculator automatically uses order of operations for you, so that's kind of nice. Okay, and I have one more example. This one's a little bit longer. So I've got 5m plus p squared over p plus 2. So let's do our substitution step first. I know m is 1.2 and p is 3. So 5m is now going to become 5 times 1.2 plus p squared is now going to be 3 squared since p is 3 divided by p plus 2. So p is 3 and then I need to add 2. So it says don't forget to put your numerator and denominator in parentheses. So your calculator, you have two options. You could put this whole thing in parentheses and this whole thing in parentheses when you type it in. Or these calculators actually have a nice feature. If you hit Control Divide right away, so again that was Control Divide, that's going to get a fraction bar to come up, and you can just type in your numerator and denominator right there. So if I do 5 times, or that was parentheses, so 5 times 1.2, close my parentheses, plus 3 squared. Type that into my denominator. Then if I use my arrow to go down to the, sorry, that was my numerator. Use the down arrow to go down to your denominator and type in 3 plus 2. Now it looks exactly like my problem on my sheet. And hit enter. It's going to evaluate it for you. And that answer should be 3 when you type it in on the calculator. So you should practice doing this because you're going to have to later. And you want to make sure you know how to use the calculator. And that's it.